Are we inadvertently driving Iran and Turkey to some sort of not? I don't want to say alliance, but I mean, it seems like the incentives align in this case.
I think you're, I think you're pushing the entire Islamic world to coalesce into a very powerful bloc that is incurably hostile to us and to Israel. I think that's happening without question.
Shalom Akim. Shalom, Shalom, Lahab Aquarium. This is your brother Zakaria Allah, branched out in Williamsport, Pennsylvania, coming with another lesson through the Spirit. Lord willing, this be edifying to the Lord's elect. All right, before I get started with this lesson, okay, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Ruchak, Wadash. Double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone who rule well and who teach well. Shalom to the Akim out there that's pushing the truth, that's laboring in the word, and that's pushing the gospel of the great kingdom that's soon to come. Shalom to the Akwath that's listening in, that's remaining true to the faith and remaining faithful and submissive to their husbands and guiding their children. And shalom to the hopeful elect of the 12 tribes that scattered abroad throughout the four corners of the earth, you Israelite foreigners out there who live among the heathen and who look like those heathen nations. But your lineage goes back to the progenitors of the 12 tribes of the nation of Israel, all right, through the line of your fathers. I want to say peace and blessings to you all, Barak Thumb. Okay, and this is going to be a real quick lesson. I wanted to touch on a couple of videos, this being one of them, all right, pointing to the fact that with this whole operation in the so-called Middle East, okay, it's causing the friction, or shall I say the friction is causing the nations in the region to start to come together, okay, as the Colonel Douglas McGregor had just said, you know what I'm saying, that they're beginning to coalesce and come to, you know, full sovereignty with one another, you know what I'm saying? All right, solidarity, I should say, against the West collectively, you know what I'm saying? Specifically America and Israel. Okay? And you know, this is going to be to the complete detriment of, you know, Americans and allied forces, man. You know, and this is what's going to further cause the divide amongst America's allies as well. Okay, because having these partnerships in West Asia is very key. Okay, it's a very key component for all these other nations, man. So they can't afford to lose these allegiances or these partnerships. Okay, but nevertheless, you know, these nations are coming together, Turkey, UAE, Qatar, all right. I've been hearing reports pretty much that the Sunnis and the Shiites are coming together, you know, putting their differences aside and just seeing each other as Islamic brothers, you know what I'm saying, or brothers in Islam. So let me get this started here in the book of Genesis, because when you look at these so-called Arab nations, okay, it's collectively dealing with Ishmael and the Persians, okay, the Ishmaelites and the Persians, okay, who are Elamites, right? So let's go to the book of Genesis, chapter 16. Let's see. And let's hit verse 11. It says, "And the angel of the Lord said unto her, Behold, thou art with child, and shalt bear a son, and shall call his name Ishmael." Okay, this is from the concubine Haggai. You know what I'm saying? And Haggai was pregnant by Abraham and is giving birth to Ishmael. All right. And Ishmael, Abraham wanted to give the blessing, or shall I say the birthright, to Ishmael. All right. But the Lord said that your lineage will be continued. Okay. The promise, shall I say, shall be continued through Isaac. You know what I'm saying? So going on, it says, behold, thou art with child, and shalt bear a son, and shall call his name Ishmael, because the Lord hath heard thy affliction. And he will be a wild man. His hand will be against every man. Okay? It emphasizes on this. His hand will be against every man, and every man's hand against him. And he shall dwell in the presence of all his brethren. Okay? So these so-called Arabs, all right, are in everyone's land, you know what I'm saying? And pretty much it's always a stigma on so-called Arabs, man. You know what I'm saying? Being seen as terrorists, right? So this is prophecy. And so here in these last days, all these different Islamic nations are coming together, you know what I'm saying, for this final battle. All right? And people are calling it people are calling it I think it's the West Asian NATO. All right? Or the Arab Islamic NATO or something like that. Okay? But essentially, the partnership is going to be working, you know, a lot closely to resembling what NATO is. You know what I'm saying? Because, of course, according to prophecy, Turkey is going to leave NATO. Okay? Turkey's going to leave NATO, and it's going to be very soon. So they won't have Turkey as an ally anymore. And that's going to help with the cause of, you know, of Iran. All right, so let me show you this other video that I got. Check this out. All right, so this is the CJ Williman show, and the video reads: "It's happening, the Islamic NATO that ends Greater Israel." Okay, and this is exactly what these Amalekites don't want. They don't want you know, Yemen, Syria, you know what I'm saying, and all these different, you know, Arab nations coming together. You know what I'm saying? So let's listen into what Mr. CJ's got to say. All right, and I'll get some more precepts. Check it out.
Hello, it's your friend CJ Werleman, and in this episode, we reveal why a growing and strengthening alliance between Muslim-majority countries is reshaping the Middle East and presenting the State of Israel with an unprecedented existential threat. But first, please remember to like and subscribe to our show and ensure your notifications are turned on so you never miss a single episode. Now let's get into it. The idea of a collective security alliance that huddles together Muslim-majority countries under a binding collective defense obligation akin to what Europeans and Americans enjoy under NATO has been kicked around for years, mostly because the potential strategic benefits are obvious, given it would include a combination of Saudi money, Turkish technology, and Pakistani nukes, therefore constituting a triumvirate of military, economic, and technological firepower against the number one threat to peace and security in the Muslim world, the State of Israel. A stark reality given the Zionist military bombed and or invaded 9 Muslim-majority countries during the last year alone.
Israel has attacked more countries than any other country this year. Over 10,600 attacks on 6 countries and 3 territorial waters. These maps show where those attacks took place.
When Israel isn't bombing or invading Muslim countries unprovoked, then it's violating ceasefire agreements with its neighbors, having violated its ceasefire with Gaza by bombing it more than 1,000 times in 80 days, adding thousands of more civilians to a death toll that has already surpassed hundreds of thousands. A similar story can be told in Lebanon, proving yet again that Israel can never be trusted under any circumstances, especially when it's even willing to deceive and dupe its number one ally and benefactor.
I didn't like plenty of things I saw yesterday. I didn't like the fact that Israel unloaded right after we made the deal. They didn't have to unload. And I didn't like the fact that the retaliation was very strong. But in all fairness, Israel unloaded a lot. And now I hear Israel just went out because they felt it was violated by one rocket that didn't land anywhere. That's not what we want, I'll tell you. And I'm telling you, I'm not happy about that, Israel, either.
Israel also bombed Qatar, home to the largest US military base in the Middle East, just months after the Qatari government gifted Trump a $1 billion airplane, proving no Muslim country is safe from attack, even those with the strongest of ties to the United States government. Which is why Turkish President Recep Erdogan reignited the idea of an Islamic NATO in September 2024 by calling for Muslim unity against what he described as a growing threat of Israeli expansionism.
İstanbul'un kaderi Şam'ın kaderinden, Bağdat'ın, Kahire'nin, Sana'nın kaderinden, İslamabad'ın, Kabil'in, Trablus'un, Tahran'ın kaderinden, Mekke ile Medine'nin ve elbette Kudüs'ün ve Gazze'nin kaderinden ayrı değildir. Ümmetin sesini ve vicdanını temsil eden teşkilatımızın bu toplantısında İsrail'in tüm bölgeyi yangın yerine çeviren politikalarına karşı duruşumuzu açıkça dünya kamuoyuna duyurmamız gerekiyor.
This was Erdogan making a direct and urgent call for Muslim powers to isolate, encircle, and threaten Israel. A call that has invoked derision, skepticism, and even ridicule from Zionists who have mocked Turkey and other Muslim countries for having achieved little in the 18 months since Erdogan gave that speech. They couldn't be more wrong because every military strategist in Tel Aviv and Washington, D.C. knows damn well that an Islamic NATO drastically changes the balance of power in the Middle East.
All right. So, yeah, this is prophecy, man. And we're seeing these nations coming together. We're seeing these nations, all right, becoming more and more bold. As the scriptures say, let the weak say, I am strong. You know what I'm saying? Let the weak say I am strong. So this is Habakkuk chapter 2. All right. And let's hit verse 4. It says, behold, his soul, which is lifted up, is not upright in him, but the just shall live by his faith. Yeah, also, because he transgresseth by wine, he is a proud man. And these devils, these Edomites are proud in heart. You see what I'm saying? That he is a proud man, neither keepeth at home, who enlargeth his desire as hell, and is as death, and cannot be satisfied. Okay? But gathereth unto him all nations, and heapeth unto him all people. Shall not all these take up a parable against him, and a taunting proverb against him, and say, woe to him that increaseth that which is not his? How long? And to him that ladeth himself with thick clay. You know what I'm saying? And here in these United States, all right, if we haven't reached it already, we're coming very close to $40 trillion in debt. You know what I'm saying? And the real numbers are astronomical in comparison. You see what I'm saying? So America is just drowning in debt that it can never repay back. And the whole world has known this. You see what I'm saying? This is why now it's time for all these nations to start dumping the dollar, start dumping all these assets, you know what I'm saying, because they're not feasible. You know what I'm saying? All right, this is fiat money, which means virtually nothing. All right? And so it's only a matter of time, man. When this thing pops off, you know what I'm saying, there's no going back. You know what I'm saying? There's no going back. The Lord said clearly that your pride hath deceived thee. Okay? So on the one hand, you're going to have these these Ishmaelites, these Elamites coming together. And then that's on one hand, and then on the other hand, you're gonna have to have, or you're gonna have to deal with the reality of those being your allies starting to distance themselves from you. Okay? On the west side, you know what I'm saying? Because in the eastern part, in the so-called Middle East, you have these countries like Iraq, you know what I'm saying, Qatar, what have you. They're telling America you can't launch or perform any military activities from our soil. You see what I'm saying? So that's one thing, and then on the other hand, you got this other problem where America's allies amongst NATO are distancing themselves from America. Okay? So let me get this real quick. Shall they not rise up suddenly that shall bite thee, and awake that shall vex thee? And thou shalt be for booties unto them. Because thou hast spoiled many nations, all the remnant of the people shall spoil thee. Because of men's blood, and for the violence of the land, of the city, and of all that dwell therein. Okay? And this dude Trump is you know, he's the absolute detestable man on the planet, because he's up and down them files. You know what I'm saying? Even the Ayatollah of Iran had to mention that shit. You know what I'm saying? So that's a heavy stain on you. And that's shameful spewing on your glory. So now the world is seeing who you really are, how nasty y'all is. Okay? So you can't win this thing in terms of the moral argument anymore. Right? Like I saw a video earlier. I should have saved it. But I saw a video earlier, you know what I'm saying, where these Amalekites are saying things like, you know, we can't have the world doesn't want to love Israel anymore. So because we can't make the world love us anymore, then we'll have to make the world fear us. You know? And that's just how a devil would speak. You see what I'm saying? But it's coming down to the wire where they can't hide this thing anymore. Okay? So all their allies are turning against them, and all their adversaries are getting stronger. Okay? And this is all happening right before the grand finale. You see what I'm saying? Which Jacob's trouble has to happen, or shall I say, Jacob's trouble has to intensify, and the hour of temptation has to take place before this great fight reaches its climax. Right? So this is was it the UK Prime Minister, or yeah, I think the Prime Minister, what's his name? Shit. Keir Starmer, I think it is. Let me see, Keir Starmer. I think that's what he is, the Prime Minister. Yep. Prime Minister of the United Kingdom is Keir Starmer. Okay? Who has been in office since July 5th, 2024. All right. So, Keir Starmer, what's his decision towards this situation happening in the Middle East? Real quick. Okay? So, as of yesterday, all right, February the 19th, 2026, the year of apostasy, sellouts, and agents, UK has blocked the United States, banned the United States from using British bases for strikes on Iran. Okay? So, your own closest allies don't want anything to do with you in this endeavor. You know what I'm saying? Nobody wants to be that guy to pull the trigger, excuse me. Nobody wants to be that guy to pull the trigger on Iran. No one wants to be that guy. You see what I'm saying? Because they know that this starts a chain reaction that will affect everybody, no matter where you live. You see? Nobody wants to be that guy to do this. Okay, so like the scriptures say, thy mother shall be confounded at thee. All right, shamed of thee. Let's see if I can find that real quick. Let's go to Jeremiah. All right, Jeremiah chapter 50 and verse 12. It reads, Your mother shall be sore confounded. She that bare you shall be ashamed. Behold, the hindermost of the nations shall be a wilderness, a dry land and a desert. You know what I'm saying? So you're already pissing off the world at large, but then lose your own allies, okay? And your so-called closest ally being these Amalekites, they're leading you into a situation that you won't be able to get out of, man. You're going to be in this quicksand with nothing to pull yourself out from. You see? No branch, no tree root, nothing like that. You're just stuck in this thing and you're quickly sinking. Okay? You have no choice now but to strike. All right? The files are out. Everybody can see them. The world can see you. World leaders are talking about you. Okay? Your approval ratings are in the basement. So, you know what I'm saying? It's just time to get it going. You know what I'm saying? Your allies are, alienated yourselves from your allies. You see? You really about to go this alone. You really about to do this. And the Lord is the one that's doing it. The Lord has checkmated these Edomites, man. Okay? So, let me go to 2nd Esdras here. All right, this is 2nd Esdras chapter 15 and verse 28. It reads, verse 28, it says, Behold, an horrible vision, and the appearance thereof from the east, when the nations of the dragons of Arabia shall come out with many chariots, and the multitude of them shall be carried as the wind upon earth, that all they which hear them, all right, that all they which hear them may fear and tremble. Also the Carmanians, raging in wrath, shall go forth as the wild boars of the wood, and with great power shall they come, and join battle with them. You see, and right now, all these Arab nations, including the Carmanians, being these Iranians, these Persians, they're all coming together. All of them. You see? Ishmaelites and the Carmanians, the dragons of the wilderness, the dragons of Arabia. You see? And this thing's about to pop off. It says, and join battle with them, and shall waste a portion of the land of the Assyrians. And then shall the dragons have the upper hand, remembering their nature. You see what I'm saying? They're going to remember how efficient they were in battle. They're going to remember how, they're going to remember what they honored, you know what I'm saying, and took pride in for centuries. They're going to remember these things, man. The Lord's going to put back that warrior spirit in them. You see what I'm saying? Because before 2025, Iran has not attacked any country 200 years prior. You see what I'm saying? So these Persians and these Ishmaelites, okay, They're going to remember themselves, man. It says, and then shall the dragons have the upper hand. So you really think that you're going to go in there and it's going to be an in and out situation like it was with Venezuela? All right, that's not going to happen. That's not going to happen. Every analyst that I've been seeing, okay, within the past 2 days, have all said that this is not something that's going to go away within just a couple days. You know what I'm saying? You don't just get to walk away from this, because this thing is far more nuanced and it's far more complex. Because now you're going to have China coming to the fray. You're going to have Russia coming to the fray. North Korea. All these different powers that you don't want to tango with. Right? So it says, and then shall the dragons have the upper hand, remembering their nature, and if they shall turn themselves, conspiring together in great power to persecute them. And all these nations are conspiring together. They're all coming, all right, and forming one great alliance, man. And Turkey is going to join with them. Right? As a matter of fact, I think Erdogan, right? Erdogan just is now seeking a nuke. Right? Let me see. What's that? I know I saw this article in RT. Here's one. Slovakia. All right, so this is from Nexus Newsfeed. NexusNewsFeed.com. It says Erdogan wants nukes. What a Turkish bomb would mean for the so-called Middle East. Ankara is telling the world that a selective and force-driven approach to the Iranian nuclear issue could ignite a chain reaction. In Ankara, the idea of Turkey one day seeking a nuclear weapons option has never been entirely absent from strategic conversation. Yet in recent days, it has acquired a sharper edge as the region around Turkey is sliding toward a logic in which raw deterrence begins to look like the only dependable language that's left. You see? And that's exactly what this is. All these nations are now realizing that the only way to actually deter the United States and Israel at this point is to have that raw deterrence power, which is nuclear weapons, nuclear weaponry, nuclear arsenals. You see? Because there is no amount of diplomacy that you can do with these people. The world is realizing that. And now coming straight out of this devil's mouth, Nero Trump, you see what I'm saying? He says, I don't need international law. All right? I'm God. Slack you for that. Camera cut off. But you know, as he says, you know, I'm only guided by my own morality. You know what I'm saying? When someone speaks like that, then you know that there's no room for diplomacy, no diplomatic talks, because you got to see the level of chaos and the level of hypocrisy that's coming from these devils, man. Okay, on the one hand, they're talking about we're moving in diplomatic means, we're giving diplomacy, but then on the other hand, they're saying they're giving ultimatums. You don't give an ultimatum in diplomacy. An ultimatum is something that you say when you're on the cusp of war, not diplomacy. Diplomacy is what you're doing when you're reaching peace. Ultimatums is what you start saying when you're entering into warfare. You see what I'm saying? Like two dudes coming into a spat, you know what I'm saying? And one of them is pulling back the side leg, you know what I'm saying, preparing for a strike at any moment. That's what you see with America. All right, bringing all these tankers over to the so-called Middle East. They're bringing all these weapons, all these fighter jets. You see what I'm saying? All these warships. You see? That's America. That's America moving their leg to the side, getting ready to strike, getting ready to punch. You know what I'm saying? While y'all both talking. All right? So this doesn't end well. It doesn't end well, man. You know? It says, Turkey's foreign policy has expanded far beyond the cautious status quo posture that once defended it. Okay, let me read that again. It says Turkey's foreign policy has expanded far beyond the cautious status quo posture that once defined it. It has positioned itself as a mediator, all right, on Ukraine and Gaza. Pursued hard security aims through sustained operations and influence in Syria, Iraq, and Libya, and inserted itself into competitive theaters, from the Eastern Mediterranean to the Horn of Africa. All right, President Recep Erdogan has long framed this activism as a corrective to an international order he portrays as structurally unfair. His slogan that the world is bigger than five, referring to the United Nations Security Council, is a statement of grievance against a system in which a narrow group of powers retains permanent privileges, including an exclusive claim to ultimate military capability. You know what I'm saying? And I think the five is talking about, I think major powers that possess nuclear weapons, okay, being America, Russia, China, you know what I'm saying? What's another big one? I believe France has nukes, okay? And what else was it? I think it was India. I think India has nukes as well. But, in any case, Turkey wants to have that deterrence ability. Turkey wants to have that power because North Korea gets to have one, you know what I'm saying? So it doesn't make sense as to all these nations who actually have nukes, Trump is willing to actually go to a negotiation table and talk like he means peace. You know what I'm saying? Venezuela didn't have a nuke. You see what I'm saying? That's Jake. Jacob doesn't have anything, man. That's why those, them jokers was able to go up in there. Because Jake has no power. Either the Northern Kingdom or the Southern Kingdom, man. You ain't got no power. You see? But all these other heathen, oh yeah. Yeah. And this is why, we about to see the shift of power or the shift or the balance of power being shifted. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, I'm gonna cut that there. Like I said, I didn't want to make this too long. All right. But this has been your brother Zakaria Allah, branched out here in Williamsport, Pennsylvania. Okay. Hey man, if nothing happens this weekend, then hey, that's just more time for you to get yourself right, man. You know what I'm saying? More time. Don't take this time lightly. Okay? So again, I pray this lesson was edifying to the elect in the nation of Israel. I want to say, Call Allah, Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Vachar, Kodash. Double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone, of whom I've grown in this truth under. Peace and blessings to the hopeful elect. Shalom.